Hey everyone, Miss GoElectric here. Now it seems that I've covered everything that you can drive, fly, ride, electric. But right here in front of me, I have a standing electric scooter. I'm sure a lot of you have seen them around town in your cities where you can commute with them on the sidewalks, but there's a whole nother category in between that type of scooter and an e-bike that needs to fill the gap that we haven't quite addressed here on this channel yet. So today we're gonna take a closer look at this Freego F12 and take it out for a ride to see what it can do. With direct-to-consumer e-bikes, they're shipped to you disassembled, and you have to invest the time to not only build them, but calibrate the shifting and things of that nature. And then down the road, you have maintenance to tend to. One of the things that I like most about standing electric scooters is that you just pull them out of the box of the packaging and mount the handlebars and you're good to go. Now, with something like this could be just as capable and suit your lifestyle. So why don't we take a closer look at some of the features of this that makes it very close to what you might experience on an e-bike. First and foremost, this looks like a pretty big electric scooter, but it gets smaller because it folds. So what you do is just hold down this red button and pull out the folding mechanism, and then this here on the handlebars will allow you to clip onto this piece here so that you can lift it up and carry it. Now this is about 44 pounds, so it's a little heavier than your typical commuter scooter, but that's also because it has a little bit bigger battery and the wheels are bigger, so we have a lot more capability to go off-road. Speaking of wheels, these here are a 12-inch tire and about 2.5 inches wide for the tread. These are air-filled. Now, other electric scooters offer a tubeless or a tire that is completely solid, and what you compromise there is ride comfort. You will have to probably have a little bit of maintenance here with this type of a tire because you might get punctures and you might have to replace them, but ultimately, you're gonna have a more comfortable ride. While we're talking about comfort, you'll notice that this scooter has a front suspension, so you have a little bit more comfort when you're going off-road. Now, this only has a front suspension, it does not have a rear suspension. Now you probably noticed that there are fenders here. This is really great that they come with the scooter and are already mounted because this will keep me dry and clean when I'm going through puddles or riding in any kind of conditions, whether that be rain or anything like that. We also have an integrated light right here off the front and one off of the back. Really great for not only safety and visibility, but good for night riding as well. You'll notice that the cable management is nice and tidy and goes right up into the stem. This here is a nice, long, tall stem for riders that can go up to about 6'2" and feel comfortable. One thing I really like about this particular scooter is that it has a really wide deck, and it's about 9 inches from this metal point to the other side. And the surface itself is rubberized and has this pattern on it that gives it quite a bit of grip. So as I mentioned, you can ride this in all kinds of conditions and still feel stable and comfortable. This electric scooter here has one brake, and that's right here off of the rear. It's mechanical, and then you also have the rear hub motor back here. It's a 500-watt system, so lots of power in this particular electric scooter. As far as aesthetic goes, I really like the simple design of this scooter. Now it did come with decals, but I chose not to put those on because I like it being simple. Now let's take a look at the underside of the scooter. Underneath the deck here, you'll notice this is where the battery is mounted. It's a 48-volt, 15-amp-hour battery, which is equivalent to 720 watt-hours. This is a pretty big battery for an electric scooter. It's bigger than some of my e-bikes. You plug it in right here. It is not removable, so really easy right off the side. But as far as ground clearance goes, you're looking at about 4.5 inches. So good for what we're gonna use it for, which is off-roading. On this particular electric scooter, you have a bell on the left side. Nice and prominent sound. You have the single brake on the left. These grips are Very similar to some of my e-bikes that I have. So they have the paddle shape on the end, pretty comfortable. They could be a little bit softer as far as material goes to be more comfortable, but I'm pretty happy with the way that they look and feel. There is a half twist throttle here, so this is what I'll be using in order to get going. This clamp here will allow you to essentially take the handlebars off if you want, or make adjustments to the positioning for different riders. And what I like about this is that there are no tools required. Finally, let's talk about the computer. It's a very simple system. You just press this power button and you'll notice the screen lights up to give you information about how fast you're going, your odometer, and then you have 3 different power modes, so 1, 2, and 3, and up top you'll see the battery gauge. All right, it's time to get my X-Needle helmet on, and let's see how this electric scooter rides. All right guys, so I want to start off in the first power mode. I'm full throttle right now, and this is a flat surface, a little textured, but you'll notice it's only 3 miles per hour. So I think that it's safe to say that the first power mode is not really going to be used very often, but let's move it up to the second pedal assist because this thing is struggling to even just get up this little hill, which is minor. All right, pushing it up to the second power mode, you'll notice quite a big difference between the first and the second. I'm now hitting about 9 miles an hour, and that's gonna probably be consistent for me because I'm pulled all the way back, full throttle. So not too quick, but it's a comfortable pace. Let's move it up to the third mode, which is probably the mode that I'm gonna use most often because it gives me better control. I can get up to speed much better. So you can see it's a very smooth but quick response. I'm gonna continue on this paved path for a little bit, and then we're gonna take it off onto the off-road portion. I'm going up some pretty steep hills, and it's doing fine with this 500-watt motor. Although you can hear it now, it's working hard. Working real hard to get me up this hill. And it's slowing down to about 8 miles an hour or so. Oh, we're getting on much flatter surface here. All right, this is a pretty decent straightaway. I'm full throttle now. My computer's reading 2021. And I just want to remind you guys, weight is gonna affect the speed of a scooter like this. And I'm about 145 pounds or so. And so this is the speed that I'm getting based on my weight. And I'm 5'11". I will say that the handlebar height is comfortable to me. It's not too low. It's also not too high. Very smooth on the throttle though. I really like the power delivery. It's not jumpy, which can be concerning with electric scooters because you want to stay safe. But I'd say a max of about 20, 21, 22 miles per hour is what you're gonna expect with this type of scooter. I feel a great sense of stability on this deck since it's so wide. I don't feel like I'm jammed on here and feel like I might fall off. Yeah, we're an off-road type of scooter, so let's get on the gravel here. You guys will be able to see. Handling this type of terrain just fine with those grooves in the tires. It's really designed to be grippy on this type of surface, and I will say, seems like it's doing its job. Suspension's doing a nice job as well. Scoot, scoot. That is awesome, isn't it? So I want to try this off-road trail because this is supposedly what this is somewhat designed for. I wouldn't take it on anything too aggressive, but handling this gravel, thick gravel, pretty well. It does struggle on these steep hills though. As you can see, it's only going about 5-6 miles an hour up them, but at least it still has some power. Here's some sand, big rocks. And you'll see this one's just barely trickling at 1 mile per hour. And it was slipping a little bit on those rocks, so wider tread would be helpful. I'm pretty happy with its performance, but if you do have a lot of steep hills, it is gonna slow down significantly. But for this price point at $899, it kind of sits above the entry level, but below those super expensive $1,500 plus electric scooters that, you know, have the dual suspension. This is kind of happy medium in my opinion. It's handling this rough terrain really well. If you're in a situation where you're riding around in a city that might be a little bit more rural and you have paths like this, it's a pretty good option. What I like about this scooter is that it is seemingly pretty durable. You know, I've gone over quite a bit of big hills, rough terrain. I feel like it's one of those that you can beat up a little bit and it's still gonna have little to no maintenance. I've already gone 12 miles and I've got 1 bar off my battery now out of, I believe, 5 bars. So we're still doing great considering that I'm on the 3rd power mode and I've been riding on it mostly in the 3rd power mode. Very easy to ride. You know, after your first like couple miles on this thing, you really get the hang of it. And I would consider this a pretty good entry level if you want to spend a little bit more money. Well, I've taken the Freego F12 around the park and even on some off-road paths. There are some things that I really like about this scooter, and there are some things that I would like to see improve. So let's talk about those. First off, one of the things I enjoy most about this scooter is the wide deck. I feel very comfortable and stable, and the platform has a very grippy surface, so even when I was going over rough terrain, I felt like I was going to be staying on the scooter. When I'm riding an e-bike, I'm sitting down on a seat, so most of my weight is planted there, and I'm just using the handlebars with light pressure on there. Whereas on this electric scooter, most of my weight is being managed and I'm handling all through the handlebars. So I get a lot of pressure here on the grips, and these are pretty rigid grips. I like that they have the texture on them, but they're a little hard on my hands since I'm putting so much pressure on them. Freego classifies this as an off-road electric scooter, and I think it did fine on the terrain that I took it out on, but I would like to see a wider tire for even better off-road capability. I really like the fact that I can just fold the handlebars down here and then lift this up and put it in my car and still have a ton of storage available. The convenience factor is really high on here, and I can see myself taking the electric scooter versus some of my e-bikes. And the fact that this is under $1,000 just makes it a really good deal. If you want to learn more about the Freego F12, then use the link in the description below. And if you decide to purchase, Freego will help support the Miss GoElectric channel. Well, thank you guys so much for watching, and please consider liking, sharing, and subscribing. Until next time, drive, fly, ride. Go electric. Standing electric scooter, I'd probably want something that is even wider. Oh my God, freaking, I almost just, woo. That's when my bell would have come in handy probably if I would have saw him ahead of time. Jeez, oh Pete's. So like I had mentioned before, these tires are 2.5 inches wide.